curious about theater. Let's see what we can find out.
Curious. What's that about? How does that work?
Slink wants to know.
Welcome to Slink Wants to Know. I'm Lauren, and today I want to know about theater, and I have Zach with me. Zach, do you want to introduce yourself and tell me why you're here?
Hi there. I was dragged without against my will to tell you about theater. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I am a theater professional, and I was asked to share some of my experiences with you all today. So that's why I'm here for. I'm based in the Midwest in Wisconsin. I work at Milwaukee Repertory Theater, and I work with other theaters in the area as well as an actor. But at the Rep, I work in the ticket office and do marketing work there. So that's kind of my experience there. Start off.
And you've like been in plays and stuff before, and like in high school and whatnot. Happened.
Yeah. I started in high school and kind of just got introduced to it at that point, and then actually it was really kind of started through music first and did all that process there, and actually started going to school for music before I switched over to theater and had that kind of experience and shift in life. But yeah, it's crazy how the journey can be a shift and change, and your trajectory that you think you're beyond can be completely different like 10 years later. So it's a fun experience to go through.
Well, I don't know that much about theater, but like when I was in high school, they'd have the sign up sheet for auditions, and I'd be like, that'd be really cool. But I'd always get so nervous because I knew as soon as like if I auditioned and got a part, even if it was a small part, I'd get on stage and I'd freeze. Because like I know even like I was in band and like I had a solo one time, I completely choked. Like it came to my part and I just didn't play anything. But so one of my questions is like I assume at one point in time there was like a sheet for you to sign up for an audition, and where I was like, nope, not doing it, even though I kind of wanted to. At some point you must have been like, yeah, I'm doing that. So how was that for you? Like what went through your head when that happened?
Yeah, well, actually, my like first audition experience wasn't kind of like that. So when I was in middle school, like I was a part of choir and did music and solo
Okay.
ensemble stuff and everything there. But as I was getting ready to go from eighth grade to ninth grade to the high school, um, we had a upcoming outgoing senior who was developing a fundraiser for the arts at the school because that our district at that time had just slashed a bunch of the budget for the arts for theater and music and everything. So she was starting this like musical review situation to raise funds for the department so that students can still experience theater and music and everything. So I just kind of remember like she came in one day and talked about it a little bit, and I kind of thought like that's not interesting. I'll go to this meeting and check it out and see what the situation was. Turns out this meeting was an audition, so I wasn't ready for this, and definitely I'll backtrack. That year in solo ensemble, I did my first solo ever, and when I got to like my performance, I froze and cried. So I ended up not getting like scored, but I just got critique only there. And funny thing, the director of this thing, the student director, was in the room when I did this. So she had seen me perform. And then I did the audition. I had like was so nervous that everyone had to like leave the room so I could be alone with her. And I sang a little bit and it was fine. And then there's like, hey, you're in. So I'm like, great. I had no idea what was going on. Like I'm like singing, dancing, acting. What's this stuff? Like, sure, let's give it a try. So
Okay.
I kind of just got thrown into the mix of it all. And
Okay.
yeah, we did a big musical review and we did like a lot of like the popular numbers at the time. So Wicked like had just come out, so like that was a big thing, and we did some Lion King references and Les Miserables and like the classic Golden Age things like South Pacific. There's a song from that. What else? We did some newsy stuff before the musical came out. We did the classic movie, which nostalgically is great. I love it. But yeah, like so I started that process there, and that's kind of what got me into like theater and everything. So when I got to high school, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sign up for these auditions and like get cast in the shows and do things. I applied the first year, went auditioned for both shows, was not cast. Was not cast in the high school shows. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I ended up working on crew instead that year and got that experience because I just want to be involved.
Mhm.
And then the subsequent years afterwards, we had a new director come in and I got cast in shows and I was able to enjoy it. It was my thing I got to live for and do. And then
Mhm.
I started doing community theater as well. And the ball kind of, the bug bit and the ball rolled. So it was
So you just
kind
kept
of a
you
fun
just
thing.
stuck with it. You just stuck with it and just kept.
Yeah, because I think with theater, like theater is basically a heightened version of storytelling. That's been a thing we as a human race have done since the beginning of the ability we've been able to speak to each other or create
Mhm.
or communicate in some form. Like we've been able to always tell stories to others, and that's kind of what plays are, and it's just storytelling through play and having fun, and that's what you do in musicals and stuff in high school. It's you're having fun.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my like the core of my philosophy for doing theater is like
Mhm.
it's always like you have to be playing. Like if you're not playing, then it's not
Mhm.
worth the thing. That's no, it's not enjoyable to go see the show if no one's playing. They're just doing the they're just going to see a story done, I guess. And I don't know, it's not as fun. Like so it has to be some play in there. So that's a really extended answer for what you're asking, but
No, you
yeah,
answered it. So that's like how you got through it is like you enjoy like the whole storytelling aspect, and that's kind of like where I wouldn't have got me through it. I just would have stood there and people would have been staring at me.
but yeah, it is like so scary though to like go out for that kind of thing because it's a really vulnerable experience because you're getting critiqued on your the way you make a choice,
Mhm.
what your body's doing,
Mhm.
what your voice sounds like if it's for a musical,
Mhm.
and it's a very like it should be an objective thing, but it's a very vulnerable thing to be objective with, especially like when you're in high school though too. Like you're oh right, you're so insecure. People suck because they're probably mean and bullies and stuff, and
Yeah.
just also the awkward years of your brain's not fully developed yet, and you're just like, what do I do? Like, oh, I like people. Great. Also, like, oh, what school? Like,
Yeah.
it's a hot mess.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah, it's definitely a scary experience.
you've seen me like enough to know like I'll act like an idiot in front of a small group of people, but like if there's very many people, like when we're on Zooms and stuff, it's like nope, I won't talk. But you've witnessed me be a little crazy, so
Yes, and the thing is, like, that's how you kind of gateway yourself into it is that you create this like safe circle of people that you feel comfortable with and are able to open up to and such. And
right.
that definitely happened for me in high school as well. It's like I found my people in a way that I was able to play and do the thing
Mm-hmm.
and just have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I definitely was one of the anal retentive over obsessed people with theater, and like I wanted to be like I want to go further and do this thing, and people were like, no thanks. So it's like drove me nuts a little bit there.
Yeah. Well, and then you've continued on, like you said, you work now in a ticket office or whatever. So there, like, even if you're not on stage or whatever, there's still jobs that you can do, like around theater, and it's still involved with theater, even if you're not.
No,
So
absolutely. Yeah. Like I know a lot of people think of just the acting aspect of theater whenever people are thinking of theater, but
there's
there's so
so
much more
much
that
to it.
goes
Yeah.
into it. There's the stage management who manage the people, like, and they're like the gods of theater. Like they handle everything, they manage everyone, they make sure everyone's doing what needs to happen and follows the direction of the director. Like the director brings people together to do the thing, but the stage manager is the one who's actually running the ship and getting things done. Because like once the show is like put up on his feet and performing, the director steps away and doesn't have to be there. I
Mhm.
know like a lot of community theaters directors stick around and stuff, but that's not really the norm professionally. Like once the director comes in and does the thing, they don't need to stay there anymore. They can go on to their next project. But yeah, there's stage managers. There's like tech folks, so people who do the lighting design and or organize that, or sound design and mixing of sound, or different crew members who like help like move the set pieces or like run the light boards or like different things like that. There is costumes and wardrobe. There are facilities managers, like engineers, different people who just work the grounds of the building that you're working in and make sure everything running, the water is running and the lights are on. And then you have um like careers in like front of house where you can do like house managing and ushering, or sometimes you can transition that to ticketing like I do and everything, and customer facing with that, which kind of connects to like, the marketing department and how do
Mhm.
you advertise these shows to get people to come see the theater. And then there's people who work in like development areas, or are that would like are the ones who kind of get the money, because usually a lot of theater is nonprofit, so it's
Right.
usually fundraising a lot more money than the words fundraising a lot more money to get like the theater supporter there, because usually ticket sales probably only make in some places a very small percentage of actually what the incoming money is to actually run the ship and everything.
Right.
So you have people in development who like get fundraisers and donors and other things
Mhm.
like that. You have education departments, and you have community outreach and engagement departments, and you have the artistic staff and their like assistants and producers and everyone there. And then you have the managing directors who like run the rest of the staff and accounting and finance. And it just kind of expands everything. Like it's a full-fledged business, like really. And then there's so many individual locations and stuff. And then you're working also with different artists in who are in specialties. So they usually are like parts of unions and stuff. So there's a lot of union negotiation too. And I'm not an expert on that at all, really,
Right.
because I'm not a union actor myself yet. But um that's another thing like you have to consider is like what like who's getting compensated properly. Like is there safety experiences like with COVID right now? Like how do you keep everyone safe and do that
Right.
thing too? And I won't dive into that because that's
A whole nother thing.
we need to be paying me for this that conversation. Also, I'm not an expert, so let's not go there. But yeah, like there's a lot of positions and opportunity in theater, and that's what I think is important about the craft is that actually there's a really cool study that came out that said one of the important things of theater and the arts in general is it allows people to like watch a single performance, and by that activity and being in that group of people, your heartbeats actually start to synchronize and your breath starts to synchronize, and it's actually a healthy experience for your body. It's actually like helps you like overall in your health by having that experience and watching a show and doing that, like depending on what the story is, that act of doing
Mhm.
that and watching is just so incredible. So I think also with that experience plus just seeing more stories out that represent so many different people and experiences and points of view that we haven't been seeing yet, that's I think just something important to
Mhm.
see yourself represented in some form in some
Right.
way. And I think theater's one of the greatest ways of doing that.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
well, and like I never thought about it. Like in high school, I could have done something like be on the crew or something like that and still been involved because I have always thought like theater was interesting and like the creativity of it. Like, but it always scared me because it's like I could never do. You know what I mean? It was like I can't do that. But there are like you said, there's different jobs that you can do surrounding that at very different levels or whatever. And moving on to my next question, like you've touched on, but there's different levels of theater. So like there's like community, well, there's like school theaters, like when you're in high school or whatever, but then there's like community. What other levels are there? Like all the way up to like Broadway and all kinds of things, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure there's a lot more subcategories that can be explained in more detail that I would not be able to share, but or be an expert on. But yeah, like you have educational theater, so like theater like you do in high school or like academies or in college, even that's educational theater. And then you have community theater, so um, yeah, like basic community theaters in the area that you can go to and act with. Usually, you're not paid for any of these experiences, more volunteer. You're volunteering your time and your efforts and your energies, and it's for amateurs. And like amateurs in this term means just people who enjoy doing the craft of it and they're not professionally making a means of living from that. So that's what I mean by amateur. It's not like you're terrible or you suck, even though it can happen. But it's not
Sometimes
like
those are fun just to watch because of that, though.
I mean That's a great YouTube watch it there. Theater fails and everything. Cool. But that I'm not my point is not to trash people though. But yeah, so there's community theater there. Then there is like semi-professional theater where maybe it's just like between like that community theater stage and that professional level, but it's not maybe fully union rates or anything yet, usually non-equity kind of thing there. And then you get small professional and then large professional kind of situations, and where you have like a non-union house that you can work at and such, but then you have union houses, so like supported by the different unions and equity. There's different levels of unions that are taken care of in that house. So there's like non-union houses and then there's union houses. And union houses usually have unions, which means usually have healthcare coverage and like a really decent compensation in your house, and you're like allotted like appropriate breaks and everything there, and so many different ranges of that. And then of course there's like other work and gig work too, like people can do like cruise ships and other performance venues and like vaudeville kind of style things and such. And um, what else is expanded into? Then there's also like different types of theater. Like some theater like produce only so many shows in a year. Sometimes they do a season like in a school year traditional kind of season. So like for like the 9 month schedule season of schools, like from September to May, you have a season. Then there's like summer stocks where shows in repertory theater at different summer places, and that's a different venue there. There's touring productions, and that could be a union or non-union tour based on the producing company there, and they'll go to different venues across the nation and such. And then there's regional theaters, and a lot of the theaters in your local area are considered regional theater. So um, like it could be like professional, like equity companies, non-equity companies, but of the region and stuff. And then you have like the commercial theater, and that's like where the Broadway stuff comes in. And oh, I'll backtrack. So professional companies, you can be a nonprofit organization or you can be a for-profit commercial organization. So the nonprofits usually are more of the theaters that are for the communities that they live in and such, and they outreach and take care of the people locally there. And there's more services provided, which is why they can get government grants and funding and donations. And the donations can be tax deducted from whoever donates that to that
Right.
cause. So that's kind of nice there. With like commercial for-profit theater, usually have investors who are going to invest a certain amount of money into a production
Mhm.
with the agreement or hope that they will get a profit from it
Okay.
in return of the show. So that's actually why the Tony Awards kind of came to be, is
Mhm.
because it was really a marketing thing. Be like, how are we going to make more money on our shows? Oh, let's make an award to like
Yeah.
market, be like, hey, we want to have this award. So that's in that sense. That's a very small, simplified explanation of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you have commercial theaters, and that's where a lot more of the money comes in. And then you get the famous names like Lin-Manuel Miranda and like Bernadette Peters or
Mhm.
Josh Groban. You get all these names, and that's where the people can get more money then too and stuff. And
Mhm.
the pricing is different. But yeah,
So,
hey, so it's such a different realm. So yeah, there's different levels of theater. That's
yeah.
kind of the
Okay.
examples there.
Yep. And then my next question is, so you've talked about like your experience with theater and like your different ways you've been involved. What's your favorite thing about the theater community? What do you get out of it the most? Like what keeps you in it? Like what keeps you coming back to it, or however you want to.
Yeah, there's different parts of it that I enjoy. Like there, I just enjoy the craft of it for myself, and
Mhm.
it's very therapeutic for my life and everything there.
Mhm.
I have been able to heal myself through that process and do really great stuff there. And then of course my personal mission is because I'm an artist of size specifically. So my hope is to see more representation of size and
Mhm.
variety and diversity in that front. Because
Mhm.
a lot of time we have this like sick notion in society right now, which thin is considered healthy and beautiful,
Yep.
and like plus size, anything other is not considered that. And it's like, oh, only skinny people can have love stories. Like you always see this in the movies and stuff. And like, big people love too, and we can do the same thing and have just do it the same way or differently, and it's
Mhm.
still valid. And it's a part of our population that we kind of ignore and representing sometimes, and without being a tokenism or something like that. So that's my kind of personal like mission aspect of why I do it. But overall, I love the craft and I love being able to play, and that's kind of my actor sense of it.
Mhm.
But like right now in just my day job, because I do work in a ticket office as well for my day job, so I kind of call it my muggle job. So it's like my non-magical acting
Yeah.
counterpart there. But um when I was in undergrad, like I heard a tidbit that if you can find work in the arts somehow as your day gig, and that's a good flexible job to work in, then it's probably the best situation to be in, because then you can still be kind of in the industry, knowing what's going on, be informed in in some format.
Mhm.
But then, like when the other opportunities come up, they're somewhat more understanding of the
Mhm.
potential of, hey, I need to be less than my hours for 6 weeks. I have a contract for this show I'd like to do, or hey, I'm gonna be gone out of town for 2 months. Like, am I good to go for that time? Or can I work remotely now, since remote options have
Right.
kind of opened up more in the world and stuff too? So yeah, like I mean, I think if I could have gone back to retweak that advice, I was been like, find a day gig that's going to take care of the bills and everything, but then still allow you to do the work.
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the arts, but if it is in the arts, good plus. That's a plus and just a nice benefit extra. It's not
Find something
necessary.
flexible that allows you to still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, now I know I haven't been, I don't know how many plays. I might have been like a couple small plays when I was younger, but hardly ever. So the very few plays I've seen have been on TV. They've been doing that. They've been like putting plays. What is your thoughts on that? Like live versus like the television productions. Do you think that like is a good thing, or do you think it kind of cheapens them, or what do you think of them?
Um, I I really do enjoy seeing stage work like recorded. Like that is nice to see, especially it allows people who are not close to like New York and Broadway to be able to see what's happening there, since that tends to be the focus in the theater realm of what's happening in New York, what's happening in the West End. Like, oh, you can't see these big stars unless you go there. But like sometimes you don't have the means or ability to go there. So to be able to introduce these pieces and doing like the live performances like that, yes, it's great to get like another way for people to be like, oh, what's this thing? Like, because like theater is, I think, very underrepresented as an art form for a lot of people, as a form of entertainment, and I think it's a way to get the next generation to get their eyes set on something and see something there. Because yeah, it's a fun experience, but I don't think it's a way of need a means to replace going to see live theater though, because I think the in-person aspect is what makes it so unique and
The whole experience.
enjoyable. I think that's part of the thing. I think that's part of the magic of it, is like it's live. It's never going to be the same exact thing.
Right.
Like it'll always have some variation. Like sometimes an acting choice might be motivated differently, or something might come out differently, or you have a different actor stepping in for the role that day because the main actor has to step down for a moment and like rest and take care of themselves. And so that's always a different variety there. But yes, I like that there are a lot more live performances happening. Um, are they all the best representation, quality performances? That is another question. Like, should said celebrity from this franchise be really performing this
Yeah.
role? That
That's what I wondered, what your thoughts on that.
yes, like there's always some questionable choices with those, and then sometimes there's pleasant surprises. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that person could perform.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like it. So, and like of course we have like the movies coming out though too, these like movie remakes of these stage shows and everything. We had like Into the Woods was made into a movie, Mamma Mia, what else, there's so many different things, Footloose got remade. But yeah, like so many stage productions got the movie treatment though too. In the Heights, gosh, really, come on, Zachary. Tick Tick Boom, like that was a really cool, actually, a version of a musical that was kind of a mix of a docu series and a musical. So that was a really cool experience there. But yeah, all these pieces. Duh, Rent. Like that's the one that was my high school. Like the one I was. Rent came out when I was in high school. I'm like, okay, and it was one of my shows that
Yeah.
got me through the thing. But um, yeah, like it's always cool to see those variations in Les Mis and stuff though too. And again, like sometimes these are successful, sometimes they're not successful, or sometimes the thing with theater is not all theater is for all people. So sometimes it probably wasn't meant for you, or it's okay if you didn't care for it.
Mhm.
But like that's what's nice about it though too. But yeah, there's it's an area where you can have a lot of opinions, but like as long as you're nice about it, I think it's fine. But yeah, so
Well, for me, like I said, I live in the middle of nowhere, and I don't have much opportunity to go see theater. So what I usually end up doing is I end up listening to the soundtracks
mhm.
of musicals. So I couldn't tell you much about musicals, but I have probably heard the soundtrack, which is it might be a strange experience, but that's like that's how I that's how I that's how I get my musical theater experience mostly is through the soundtracks. But I'm gonna try and make an effort to go see some theater now that things have calmed down a little bit in the world, hopefully, and it stays that way. Fingers crossed. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna make an effort of maybe come up and see you sometime, and that would be cool.
Well, we have to give me cast first, so I'll let you know when that happens.
Well,
But
or just come visit you and where you're at,
oh, for sure, yeah,
like
you can
that.
come see me at this place right behind me. I
There
don't know
you
what this
go.
theater
Yeah,
is at all, but it's a picture I found online. I thought it was
yeah.
cute.
It
Anyway,
works. It works. Okay.
but going back to the CD album singing and stuff though too. I mean, like that was my start to a lot of these
Yeah.
shows though too. Before it
Hmm.
was before the time of YouTube and everything. So like I think now that we have like resources like YouTube and stuff, like you can find really great like representations and examples of like live performance in theater and stuff. And you have like Instagrams and TikToks now that kind of do this as well. But yeah, there's like great platforms, like even for like someone who's not able to easily access theater in their area. There are like platforms that at least provide like you can see recorded stage productions. It's a little different than watching it live. Like you can watch like Nonsense, which is always a funny one for everyone to watch. I think it's hilarious. Like check it out for especially if you're from a small town area. I think it's just there's an appeal there. I think this is fun that for that. But like there's like other stage like Broadway HD and like Broadway on demand and things like that. You can like subscribe to
Right.
these services and watch stage shows and everything there. And then as like more movie musicals get presented and such, we're gonna see more of those come out. Like again, like there's In the Heights and
Well, and I listened to the Hamilton songs, which I don't know. And then I loved the Hamilton songs, and then I watched it on Disney Plus. I'm like, okay.
okay. What was cool about Hamilton is that like it was a great I think it was a great mixture of the like of really good filming of a stage show and you got that theatrical experience though too of like
Mhm.
that live sense and
It
everything.
wasn't bad, but I wish I would have just kept listening to the music.
Okay, well did you watch it with subtitles or no?
I don't remember it.
I think if you watch it with subtitles it makes it's clear to like
Yeah,
understand what that story is going on because
yeah,
it's fast. Like I would not be able to
yeah,
listen to it and catch half the things that were going on
yeah.
in that. So I definitely had
Like,
to like look at the subtitles, and I felt like I was able to like definitely much more flow with it, and it's so much. I thought it was really great, but
I
I
liked it, but it was like I was all like pumped up for it, and I'm like, all right, and then I watched it, I'm like, this is okay. Yeah, I liked it, but it was just like I was expecting it to be like awesome, and then it's like, yeah, this is very cool, but
what was funny is like I went like I first like heard the album once. I'm like, okay, I don't need to listen to this again. Like I just
so it was
I was
it was the complete opposite.
it was the opposite for me. So I had to see it for me to like be like, oh, okay, I get what's happening now. I can listen to this the story and like
Hmm.
definitely understand what's going on because like I just did not connect with it. And that was just my
Yeah,
experience. And usually I am like the one who like listened to it and like, oh, I'm gonna listen to them, like love the story and also
yeah.
like on stage is the opposite. But like no, it was this one was I had like wasn't like into it right away. And there's some shows where I'm like, okay, this is a really complicated score and performance. I feel like I'm missing parts of the story here and like not understanding what's happening in context. So that's usually why I like still want to see something. And if I don't like it from seeing it, then I'm like, okay. I'm also like theater also has a lot of this whole like let's turn these movies into musicals a lot lately, like Miss Doubtfire, Pretty Woman, for other problematic stories that shouldn't be remade. But some of them are great though too. Like I like Moulin Rouge. They made that version with an
Yeah.
updated album and stuff. I personally love the new album. Some people may not love the album because
Everybody has their own
movie.
experience. Yeah.
So yeah, but like I am definitely hoping we can see a lot more original stories again coming from Broadway because this whole like taking a story from different medium and just making a stage version of it, like I'm over it. Like I can take a break from it for a while. Like, however, Devil Wears Prada is coming to Chicago. Like, I'm interested in that idea. But I also love that movie so much, and it's a very theatrical movie though too. So it lends itself nicely. Yes. Anyways, that's all I can say on that.
Okay. Well, this leads to my final question. What is your favorite production ever? Or the one that like, I don't know, impacted you the most, or however you want to.
I am, I think it's gonna be cliche, but it's gonna have to be Wicked. Like I was in high school still. Like I had only been like doing community theater and the musical reviews and everything. So I hadn't seen like a lot of live performances other than like the ones locally in my small town. So we went to Chicago and saw the Chicago run of Wicked, and it was Anna Gasteyer from from SNL and fame and everything, who is playing the Wicked Witch of the West. That's right. It was probably like mid center back orchestra, so it was like not like up close, but just you got the live orchestra, and it's like boom, and the lights change, and they get the dragon, and
the whole experience.
Or that whole experience is like you just all of a sudden just forget you're sitting in a chair and you're just watching the story unravel. And like it's this album you listen to for so many times. Like, of course, you know the album. It's like, okay, I'm so excited for this. And you're like humming along in your head with it and stuff. And I was very like,
I know that album very well too.
Yes. So like seeing it live, just like, this is what the scene looks like, and like seeing the visual of what it's supposed to look like with that music. Because then now when you go back to listen to it, you then like know what's happening, and then you find all these extra nuggets of dialogue and expanding music that doesn't get translated to the recorded albums, because sometimes the albums will get recorded before the show's finalized on the Broadway. So like there'll be songs on this album that aren't a part of the regular show now, or they've been changed and altered. And yeah, it's cool, it's interesting, cool, and wonderful. And I'm very excited for this movie to come out. Very excited for this movie. But like, yeah, like that space. And I've seen that show a couple times, and I would just want to see it now from like a front and center orchestra experience, just like be up front and like win the like lottery $10 ticket and just be like here and like look like, oh my god, it'd be great.
Awesome. Well, you have anything else you want to add?
I am single, available, and looking for a partner in crime to see more theater with.
There you go. There's Zach. Hit me up if you want to hit him up. So there you are. Well, thank you, Zach, for sharing your knowledge and your experience and all the things. And there you have it. I learned some about theater. I learned a lot about theater. I knew a little bit, but like I seriously like I've always been curious about it. I wanted to know more. So I thank you. And everybody watching, thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Make good choices.